Welcome back. I am John P. Today we are going to be talking about some types of watches and some watches that you should never sell. As a watch dealer and having delraywatch.com, where we buy, sell, trade watches, I work with so many of you and I see the watches that you're selling to us as well as buying from us. So I've come to some conclusions and some recommendations as seeing so many of you do this and regretting it to not sell these watches. Guys, also please do not forget to thumbs up, like, and subscribe. I do appreciate it. And of course, I am now on TikTok, The Real John P, so make sure to check me over there where you'll see a little bit more of an unfiltered kind of presentation that's a little bit more appropriate for that short form platform. So the first type of watch that you should not sell under any circumstance, unless absolutely under duress, would be your first watch. I see this all the time, and even one of the first watches that I put in my collection, I regret selling. It's something that you will look back on in your watch collecting journey and kind of wish you still had in your collection. I see this all the time. People kind of don't really realize where their watch collecting journey is going to take them, so they sell it to move on to other things, but then they get to a certain point and they really wish that they had that first watch in their collection once again. And sometimes it can be difficult to get that exact watch model, or at least as it's configured, but probably the exact watch that you sold. So I do not recommend that you sell ever the first watch that you purchase or put into your collection. Now, next, I would not sell any watch that is tied to a special occasion. Many people are gifted or purchase watches for things like the births of their children, or they've graduated from university, or something that was passed down from their family. And far too often, I do see people sell this watch and then it ends up out there and someone actually ends up maybe even paying less for that watch because maybe it comes with like a presentation case or an engraving. And it's unfortunate because that watch oftentimes wants to be owned again by someone in the family or someone from the occasion, and they didn't even think of it when they sold it. So another type of watch is this special occasion watch. Trust me, you're very likely to regret this. I see this quite often. Now, next we have a watch that you purchase from an authorized dealer and promise not to resell them. I have seen this so many times throughout the Rolex craze and the AP craze as of recent, but you saw this with Jorn and you saw this with Richard Mille for a while as well. Many authorized dealers may take a liking to you if you go in the store, maybe you purchased a lot of things from them and they say, hey, I can get you this Daytona, I can get you this sub, or at least they used to. And in exchange, they say, hey, just please don't put this out on the market. I don't want this coming back to Rolex that we're selling watches to flippers, things like that. And so many people, sure, the first thing they do is run out there and place that listing on eBay or Chrono24 or sell it to a dealer. But many people actually wanted to wear the watch, and that's kind of the agreement that a lot of authorized dealers would make, especially salespeople that wanted to build that reputation. And why do I recommend you not do this? It's because many of the brands are actually attempting to track down the people that are doing this and the authorized dealers. So if you do want to maintain that long-standing partnership or reputation with an authorized dealer and get watches in the future, then you really don't want to rub them the wrong way. And the way that you would be them to get questions from brands. And I've seen actually, as Breitling has been cleaning up their act, I've heard Breitling authorized dealers that have done some dumping and things like that, they've really hunted down some of these people that have done that. And, what's the worst that could happen, right? The only thing that's going to hurt you is being able to get watches into the future. So I don't recommend it unless you absolutely have to. But the choice at the end of the day is yours. But it's something I would not recommend doing. Now, next is I would not sell an Omega Speedmaster Professional. This is one of the top watches we trade at Delray Watch. We buy a ton of them and we sell a ton of them. And interestingly enough, sometimes it's even to the same person, right? Someone will have a Speedy in their collection. They'll say, I didn't wear it enough. They want something a little bit more unique. And then 2 years later, they buy a Speedy from us. This is something I see all the time. And even myself in my personal collection, I kind of wish I had a Speedy in my collection. It's not that I couldn't put one in there, but I've had them in the past. And some days I just feel like wearing a Speedy, right? It's iconic, and that's something that is going to stand the test of time. I've done videos on this in the past, but a Speedy is a Speedy. It always has been, and they look so much similar. Sure, things have changed a little bit, But it's classic. It's relevant today as it was in the past, and it's just something, at least personally, is very nostalgic. People that get rid of them end up putting them back in their collection in the future. Omega Speedmaster Pro, I would not sell this watch. Now, another type of watch that I would not recommend you sell is a watch that you really like and it's unique. The watch may grow in value, so perhaps you'll sell it to realize some gains, or maybe you don't wear it too much. Maybe it's not suitable for your type of lifestyle. Maybe, you go into the office and it's a sports watch, or maybe you're a sports person and it's an office watch, something like that. And so the watch could be unique, or it could be difficult to replace it should you want that same model out there. Maybe it's a little bit older, or it's just limited production. And I will see people that will seek out that watch and they'll love it, but they don't wear it. And then in the future, a year, they really wish they had that watch in their collection, but finding it to replace it is difficult. And if one does pop up, there might only be one, in which case that person may not be listing the watch at the most favorable of prices. So this is another type of watch that I see all the time. And even, I had a very limited Speedmaster Professional from the Mission series, complete with a very cool space box and kind of like that space suit. I'll put a picture here so you know what I'm talking about. But very limited production Mission series Speedmaster that I bought as one of my first watches. And I sold it because I just, I wasn't wearing the watch at the time, and it wasn't that, desirable. Now it's a little bit more. But even to this day, finding that exact version of that Mission Speedmaster can be difficult to find. And the one example that's out there is, in my opinion, priced twice as much as it probably should be, even above what the retail would be. So even myself, I've done this in the past, and I'm sharing this here with you. Now, next is a watch model that everyone knows. This is a Rolex Submariner. Now, why am I recommending to never sell a Rolex Submariner? It's much like the Omega Speedmaster. This is going to be a model that is iconic and timeless, right? A Submariner from 30, 40 years ago looks a lot like the Submariner today. Different technology in terms of the way it's created, and the case overall profile is the same, but maybe a little bit different in terms of dimensions. Certain subtle changes, that's what Rolex does. But if you do like the Submariner, it doesn't really make sense to get rid of the watch, because there will be a time in the future that you might just want to put it on your wrist. Now, Submariners carry some value, in which case you may feel inclined to sell that for whatever reason going on in your life. That's fine, that happens. But if it's out of sheer boredom, I see so many people sell the Sub because they say, hey, I want something unique, I want something special. And then 5 years later, they're buying a Sub once again. And the Subs, at least in recent times, have gone up in price, so then they paid more for it. Something I've seen all the time. So if it's just coming down to, hey, you're a little bit bored with it, give it some time. Trust me, there's a great chance that you're not actually just totally bored with it. Maybe you just need to spice it up and put some other things in the rotation. Give it a break. Rolex Submariner, do not recommend you sell it. Now, this next one is a bit of a condition of a watch that I would not recommend you sell. This is going to be a broken watch. Now, to many, this is going to be pretty obvious, right? Like, hey, why are you going to sell a broken watch? Just fix it up first. But to others, maybe not so much. I am surprised, even to this day, you go on eBay, you go on even sometimes Chrono24, yes, but you also go on the watch collecting forums, Watch You Seek. You can use a tool like Watch Recon. But I'll go on there and just see kind of what's going on in the market. And people will be selling broken watches, and they'll say, hey, it just needs an overhaul. Hey, it just needs that. Hey, it just needs this other thing. Hey, the crystal is cracked. It just needs a replacement crystal. That is so shocking to me that people would do that. And the pricing will never be like that great of a deal, right? So I don't think the likelihood is there that they're going to sell the watch. And if they do sell the watch at auction, like a place like eBay, it's going to be very low in terms of sale price, because people don't actually know, what repair is going to go into the watch, right? Are they a watchmaker? Probably not. Do they really know their stuff? Is there pieces of the glass of the crystal inside the movement that the watch brand is going to charge you a ton for taking that out and say, hey, it damaged the internals? The brands do that all the time. So always my best suggestion to get the watch serviced, repaired beforehand, before selling it. And if the repair bill is just astronomical, sell the watch to a dealer. They'll still pay top dollar more than someone would buy at auction, because they know how to fix it. They can take that cost and they can bake it into the price of the watch, because it's them doing business at the end of the day. So if you have to sell a broken watch, A dealer is probably the way to go. I would not sell a broken watch to a third party. It's only going to be an absolute headache. Now, last is a watch that you engraved with your name on it. These are going to be watches that, maybe someone received for working 50 years at a company or something like that. I don't know if they quite do those kind of retirement watches any longer, but if there's a watch that has your name or a family name on it, oftentimes the watches can be difficult to trade out there, and you're going to get a much lower price. Now, that's not the only consideration. It's also that your name and your family name is floating around out there, and that watch may come up and people are going to look you up and they're going to reach out to you and see if you want to pay a premium for the watch. I've actually seen this happen more than a handful of times. Is someone will buy a watch on eBay, or they'll call us and say, hey, this person's name is on the watch. I found this person online and I tried selling it to them, and I can't believe it, but these guys are out there. It exists. And so it's not the worst thing in the world, right? It's like, okay, you received a call from someone that has your grandfather's watch. It's just weird, in my opinion, right? So if it has your name on it, I would recommend keeping it. Once again, much like some of the other watches that I mentioned in this list, it's kind of has that personalization, and putting that out there in the world is just not something I'd recommend. It's not the best situation overall, and it's better, in my opinion, to kind of keep that as like a keepsake or a family heirloom than try to, sell it for a little bit today, even if you're not using it. That is, unless, of course, you had to, in which case, I totally can understand. But what do you guys think? Are there any other watches, whether it be models or types of watches or conditions of watches, that no one should sell, in your opinion? I would love to see it and hear it in the comments below. Guys, please do not forget to check out delraywatch.com, where we have every watch that people should sell, but also buy, because someone sold them to us and now we're selling them to someone else. But also, guys, do not forget to check out my TikTok, The Real John P., where I'm not doing these silly dances, but I am speaking a little bit more candidly and talking a little bit more off the cuff on a different platform meant, I think, for shorter form content. So guys, check that out, and we'll see you next time. You've been chatting with John P.